Yeah? New characters, like? Yeah, I've created a ton of new characters. We've just been doing forms for all the characters I've created for DC, and there's like 300 of them. And some of them are really stupid, like the Dry Bachelors. Do you remember them? Those were the guys from the Doom Patrol, and they were made out of old love notes that had been thrown away and stitched together.
That was good.
So yeah, I'm always creating new characters. There's a bunch of Japanese superheroes in Final Crisis who are all new stuff, and it's kind of the idea of, the whole Harajuku idea of taking fashions and mashing them together and creating something new out of it. So it's that with superhero costumes. When these kids, yeah.
The Dada characters in Doom Patrol.
What about them?
I just love them.
Oh, I think that's cool. I love them too. You know, society doesn't understand.
Damn it, the street.
Whatever happened to Crazy Jane?
Crazy Jane's fine. She left with Cliff Steele to Danny the World, where she lives now, currently writing novels. She's the kind of Neil Gaiman of Danny the World. Yep. It's mostly new gods. I don't want to make it too confusing. I mean, Darkseid in this story is the embodiment of evil, all evil. So that's enough for me. I don't need any more of these devil guys running around. So it's kind of based mostly around the new gods, and also because the new gods were designed by Kirby to actually be gods of the technological age. You know, so we're kind of putting them back in that position again. Yep. Well, like I said, it's definitely the Final Crisis for me. But who knows? You cannot predict what these people do in the future. If the name Crisis sells, then there will be more crises. There's just no stopping it. Huh? Yeah, I think what they should do is just have a different word, you know, like Final Climax or something. Okay, yeah. There's nothing like that in Crisis really, though. Superman does escape from the limits of the DC universe into something else. But the fascination for that came from me. When I was a little kid, I was really obsessed with the idea of dimensions. And I would always be like 5 years old trying to draw the fourth dimension. I read about it in books. Why can't I? You know, I can draw a point, and I can draw a line, and I can draw a square, and I can draw a cube, and what happens next? And so I get really into that idea of dimensions, and comics are really interesting because they happen on the second dimension. I mean, I actually view it as a real continuum, because it is real, you can pick them up. But as I've said many times, like someone like Superman, Batman, any of these characters, they're much more real than we are. Superman was created long before probably most of the people here were alive, probably before anybody here was alive, I'm sure, unless there's somebody in the back wants to wave and we'll give him a prize. Superman was born before us, and he's still there, he's still vital, he's still young, he's still communicating to people. When we're all dead and gone in dust, there will probably still be a Superman. So to me, these characters are much more real than we are in a certain sense, and the world that they inhabit is a two-dimensional world inside our three-dimensional world. And it's real, you know, you can go back and you can look at Superman's origin from 1938, then you can pick up a Superman comic from 1986 by John Byrne, then you can pick up a Superman comic from the year 2000 by Eddie and his team. And it's all the same guy, but we can move through his entire span of existence, his entire life, we can spread it out in front of us. And I began to imagine what would it be like if there were things above us on a hypercube level, which could look down at our lives in the same way and see every one of us here at age 1, and at age 10, and at age 15, and at age 30, and at age 40, or whatever, and see the entirety of our lives in the same way that we can see the entirety of lives in the second dimension. And it began to become like a cosmology to me, and then the experience that inspired the Invisibles in Kathmandu was kind of a revelation of this actuality, you know, that there are things up there are intelligences up there that can see the entirety of our time and our space as one singular thing, in the way that we can see the entirety of Superman's time and space. So yeah, it's an ongoing fascination for me.
Yeah, I know.
Yep.